You have a big celebration and all the families are invited, and where you're handed your green beret, your Marines beret, and all the families are there. Unfortunately, my family didn't even turn up. They just weren't interested. They didn't even know, which was quite upsetting.
Special Forces operative Toby Gutteridge was part of the Special Boat Service when he got caught up in a firefight, aged 24, and was left severely injured, with doctors at one point even considering taking him off life support. But that hasn't stopped him from finding a new purpose. He shared his inspirational story of starting over in a book called Never Will I Die. Toby has also since gone on to get a degree and start his own extreme sports company, Bravery.
Am I wound up about the fact that I didn't go home 2 weeks prior to being shot in the neck and paralyzed for the rest of my life? No, I'm not. I'm proud of what I did, proud of what I achieved.
Are you currently where you want to be? If not, what else would you like to achieve, Toby?
There's so much more I want to.
Toby, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
Pleasure to have you. So I want to start off with, I can hear the accent. We were talking off camera, South Africa. Whereabouts did you spend most of your time in South Africa?
Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag, if I'm honest. So I was born in Joburg, Johannesburg.
Yeah, been there many times, yeah.
For people, yeah, Johannesburg. Yeah, that's where I spent most of my time, I would say, growing up in Johannesburg. I was born in central Johannesburg. I lived in the East Rand for a bit. Then I moved up to the northern suburbs around Johannesburg. I had a bit of a turmoil of a childhood, if I'm honest. My dad left when I was very young.
Okay, yeah.
He left, so it was the typical single mom, 4 kids, growing up, not much. Single income, struggling. And my parents were British. Growing up in South Africa, I don't think my parents quite agreed with what was going on in the 80s, you know, with apartheid and things. So my mother actually decided to immigrate to America when I was about 10.
Okay,
11.
yeah.
And it was a very short, sharp, it wasn't really thought through, if I'm honest. And we just packed up. And before I knew it, I found myself in California as a 10-year-old, having to sort of fit in with this completely new, I guess, culture and social circles and everything. And that was pretty tough. And then that didn't really plan out. So I ended up, I didn't end up. My mom ended up deciding then, let's try the UK. So I ended up moving to the UK.
I see.
And by this point, I must have been 11. Yeah, I must have been 11. And we were now here doing the whole thing again. And my mom was struggling a lot by this point. With 4 kids. We were actually on the dole in a council estate. And that was pretty rough. And then that didn't work out. So my mother then decided, okay, we'll go back to South Africa.
Right.
So I ended up going back to South Africa. And by this point, I was now sort of 13, 14, real adolescent, but with all this moving around and stuff. Had a massive impact on my life. And by the time I got back to South Africa, you know, I was now having to go to my 4th school or whatever it was. I never really had a set, set of friends, and I was all over the place. So you can see where the troubles are starting here.
Yeah.
As an adolescent.
Yeah, and
back in South Africa.
In South Africa, so you'll probably know Sandton, which is the area I used to go to. Sandton's son was there.
just out of Sandton, Randburg.
Yeah.
Around there.
Yeah.
4 ways, Randburg. It all kind of merges into one.
Yeah.
But,
no, I can understand that, and I similar age. Like my parents split up. My father, I moved to Canada when I was like, I think 75 days old or something like that from England to there, and then parents split up. We moved back to England, and then father went back to Canada. So my mum, bringing me and my brother up on her own, took us back to Cardiff, which is where she's from. So surrounded by family. But at similar age, then I was going into high school, and again all those kinds of getting into trouble.
All over the place.
All over the place.
No set routine, and bit of a difficult childhood, I would say, and you just inevitably end up, I don't know, just getting into trouble, I guess.
Yeah. And I read that you noticed the struggles of life, and that one day you'd like to somehow help people. Did you end up just by, definition, like you say, being that age, moving around a lot of different schools, lot of different teachers, not a father figure there. Did you get caught up in that kind of stuff yourself as well to some degree?
Yeah. I mean, what you mean why I wanted to help people? Well, if I'm honest, that was always an instinctual thing. I've always been like that since I can remember. I've always been just naturally drawn to protecting people. It's like a massive part of my character. If I see something that I feel, I don't know what I'm trying to say, injustice, or someone's being, not treated well, my instincts just take over.
Right.
And it's always been there. Maybe because I've seen people try and, pick on me or but that is just a trait I have of, I've always wanted to look after people.
Yeah.
I don't know where it comes from. I couldn't really pinpoint where it comes from, but it's
but it's something that's in your story all the way,
all the way through.
Interesting. And then so fast forward like through your teens to when you were 20. That's when you decided to join the Marines. What were you doing at the time, and were you running towards something, or were you running away from something?
Definitely running away from something.
Definitely.
100%.
Okay.
I was incredibly unhappy at that stage in my life. I found myself just not fulfilled. I was empty. And it was turning into anger and frustration. And that then you just end up acting out, especially when you're young and all these hormones are flying around you. And as a stereotypical male adolescent, I want to prove myself. I want to challenge myself. But going back to actually your question, I was definitely running away. I almost felt like I just couldn't take it anymore. And I needed to get out. Get out on my own and really push myself and see what I was made of. So I did. I literally just got to that point, and like your podcast says, or what your podcast is all about, screw it, just do it. And it just came to that. It was spur of the moment.
Was that?
Going overseas and joining the Marines, I just said, it wasn't like plan it for years.
No,
or anything like that. It was like, wake up one day and go, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. You weren't one of these. Enough talk, you're going to do it. You weren't one of these kids who'd like since they were little and always wanted to be a soldier.
No.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I used to love watching, military movies and all these things. And I did have always these ambitions of doing something pretty fantastic with my life.
Yeah.
But like most people, you just you never really see it happening, and life takes you down different paths and things. So yeah, it was just one of those where I thought, no, I'm gonna do it. So I did. Yeah.
So you ultimately made it past selection and into the special forces, beating the military's creme de la creme in the process, and you went to the SBS based here in Poole, in Dorset.
Right. Yeah.
Can you remember what emotions you felt at 24 years old? Can you still cast your mind back and remember what that felt like?
Yeah. To be honest, it was so overwhelming and surreal. It was completely surreal because you grow up seeing these guys on TV, and you're gonna ever be one of them, like for me, it was always seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger, in like films like Predator or Commando or these things, and you just think, wow. And then you slowly start moving towards it, and when you actually get there and you get handed your Special Forces beret, it's a feeling like none other. It really is. For me, it was quite overwhelming. Just my journey up to that point. And I felt incredibly proud, almost indescribable, if I'm honest. Quite indescribable.
And what about your family? What was their reactions to hearing that, especially if you'd never always pined,
Do you know what? My family didn't even know.
Really?
Nah.
Wow.
To be honest, my family weren't really interested. They weren't, like, when I've completed my Royal Marines Commando training, you have a big celebration, and all the families are invited to your pass out parade, and where you're handed your green beret, your Marines beret, and all the families are there. Unfortunately, my family didn't even turn up. They just weren't interested. They didn't even know. Which was quite upsetting. And now looking back, at the time, I just brushed it off.
Yeah.
Because I just was like, whatever, man. I don't care. But now I look back, and that's actually quite upsetting, quite sad, because all these families were there, and I could see now the joy and the proudness of their parents looking at their kids passing out, and I was there by myself, even I remember now my mates and their parents saying, "Where are your parents?
Right?
Where's your family?" So then I was like, "I don't know. Can't really answer that."
Yeah.
And it was the same, when I passed Special Forces. They just didn't even know. They didn't even know what it was about. I'd go on tour, and they wouldn't even know. They were still in South Africa. I was in the UK.
Yeah.
Just doing my own thing.
And
that's quite sad, actually, looking back.
And so did your comrades almost become your new family? They did.
100%. Yeah. They were my family, my friends, my support network. One of the things I remember very distinctly was, and I wrote about this in my book, when I was out on my first tour in Afghan, and we must have been about 4 months into it, 3 months into it. And it was tough. It was tough going. We were out in the forward operating bases, which were new. So they weren't very developed. They were pretty much just 4 mud walls and a couple of bays where we slept on the floor on cot beds, if you were lucky. Anyway, eventually parcels started coming through from our families and friends. And my troop very quickly figured out that nothing was coming through to me. Everyone was getting parcels and letters from home and things, and they figured out very quickly that, Tobes, you're not getting any parcels or letters. Why is that? And I said, well, I'm just not very close to my family, and to be fair, my family don't even know I'm out here, and I'm just cracking my own. Anyway, the point I'm getting to was then they all went back and spoke to their parents and their friends, and before I knew it, their parents were sending me parcels.
No way.
Yeah,
That's so
sending me
cool.
little morale boxes, which are little things to help me get through. Candy bars or chocolate bars. Fresh pair of socks, or can of deodorant and things. And before I knew it, it was quite funny, because after a while I was getting more morale parcels and letters and things from everyone's parents, whereas they'd get one from their parents. So I ended up getting more than anyone else.
No way.
Which was quite ironic in a way,
It kind of restores your faith in humanity as well, doesn't it?
It was a real special feeling seeing, my friends' parents helping me and supporting me.
And from being posted to Afghanistan, you say in your book, everything changed for you after you were shot there.
After passing selection and then going back out to Afghan, it's a total different world in terms of the military and what you're doing out there and things. You're acting out of sort of a higher echelon of things you're doing out there, basically. And it's a lot more complicated. It's a lot more complex. There's a lot more involvement. But inevitably ending up in my injury, I suppose, it changed my whole life,
And you don't remember that actually happening? You can remember?
I mean, I remember the days leading up to it, and operations and jobs I went on before and previously, and that's all, clear as day.
Okay.
Really, the only part it really goes hazy is that night. To be fair, I remember everything up to that night. I remember, preparing, doing all my things, going for our ops brief, talking about the job, what we were going to do, what it entailed. I remember, everything, what my role was.
And what was your role in that mission, Toby?
In our teams, we had to swap around a few guys because, in every team we needed a medic. So a few guys were chopping and changing, which happens, it's just to make sure that, it's all balanced out. And I moved into a different team, and on that job, I was carrying in audits, stuff. We got our brief from our brief, on what we were doing that night, and we all went out. And the last thing I kind of remember is getting to targets on the ground. I know it was a long walk in, because we didn't want to give away our surprise of attack. So we decided to land quite far away and then walk in quite covertly and quietly.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts to get quite hazy. I remember, I get blips now of sort of memories and flashbacks of getting to target, stacking up on the door. By this point, it was quite chaotic because they knew we were there.
Right.
So we'd lost the elements of surprise. And these things happen, you have to adapt on the ground. And it went kinetic. I went through the door, and unfortunately, a burst of rounds just happened to come our way, and it was complete it was just bad luck that I ended up on the receiving end. And it was just terrible luck. It hit me bang straight into the spinal cord, and paralyzed me instantly. And that was lights out. You know, just dropped to the floor, lights out. That's all I remember. Yeah.
And when it came to writing your book, Never Will I Die, how difficult has it been? I mean, for anyone to write a book, I mean, I'd love to write a book in the future as well, but how difficult is it recalling certain memories and putting them to paper? Or is it quite cathartic? What was the experience like for you?
Yeah, it was difficult. It was difficult because I wanted to get it right. You know, this book I wrote is definitely not, it's a true account of what happened. It's not a biceps and bullets book. It's not some book to try and over-exaggerate what SF soldiers do and, you know, some made-up stories and stuff like that. It's about real guys in real battle, surviving, fighting for their lives and protecting their friends. So it was difficult. It was difficult, and I wanted to get it, you know, to have that feeling and that rawness and realness. So trying to reaccount exactly what happened within the laws of what I can talk about.
Yeah.
Because we're quite bound by quite a lot of laws on what we can and can't say.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Stas told me that when he was doing his book and how long it took to get.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
But speaking to the guys on the ground who were with me and, you know, collaborating all the evidence and putting it all together was quite emotional. But I felt it quite, it was healing as well in a way.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, it's just life, you know.
Yeah.
Things happen, bad things happen. And I'd like to think of myself as quite a logical thinking person. So just working through it methodically and processing it and understanding what's happening in your brain and, you know, the chemicals running around your body when you're recalling quite emotional moments in your life. Understanding that just helps you process it. And you just, you know, you go through it. But I knew it was for a good cause. And I know this book can really help a lot of people in terms of how to deal with their emotions, and that no matter how good you think you are and no matter where you are in life, you know, it can change in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And it's how you adapt and it's how you deal with that really shows what you're made of, you know?
Agreed. And I think no matter what stage you're at in your life or what's happened to you, you're 100% right. It's how you deal with that. It's what comes next is the important stuff. It's not what's happened before. So I think you really captured that, and I think you captured the real, like, rawness and the realism to it as well. I did read a BBC article that said that you could have gone home 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's like no regrets. It's like,
oh no, absolutely no way.
Those are my brothers.
So this question comes up a lot. You know, do you regret not going home? Do you have a lot of anger as to what happened to you, and even, you know, things like the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Does that bother you that you sacrificed, and so many people sacrificed so much? And again, it's just life.
Agreed.
You know? Things happen that are out of your control, and you can get yourself all wound up about it and stuff. But what's that going to achieve?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's that going to prove? what's that going to do?
So many people do, don't they? And I thought, like,
but they hold on to it.
They do
hold on to it, and it makes them into a person that I'm pretty sure they don't want to be.
Yeah.
You know, and I try to not do that a lot because I can. And don't get me wrong, it happens. Like, I'm only human. It builds up, and sometimes I think, well, actually, am I wound up about the fact that I didn't go home 2 weeks prior to being shot in the neck and paralyzed for the rest of my life? And the answer is no. No, I'm not. No. I'm proud of what I did, and I'm proud of what I achieved, and I knew what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
I took the risks, and unfortunately, I drew the short straw. But that was an interesting little event 2 weeks prior. Again, another job we were on. This one again evolved into something we weren't prepared for, and we had to adapt. We had to make decisions then and there. And that one was a close call. Lucky got out of that one. Obviously, a couple of people got injured on that as well. I was shot through the arm. And like you say, I was given the opportunity to return home, but it's just not, it wasn't in my nature. And I was kind of like, if I go home, which, to be perfectly frank, I didn't need to, somebody else is going to come out and take my place. And that's just putting someone else in the line of fire or in the way of danger. And that is not my nature. That's not who I am. So I was like, absolutely not. No, I'm fine. I'm good to crack on. I'm good to go. So I did. But sometimes I look back, but no, I don't regret it in any way, shape or form.
And I also agree. I think when people are questioning, when they say, about troops being withdrawn from Afghanistan, you're like, got no control over that. Politicians make decisions when they make decisions.
It's life.
It's life. Yeah. You got to move on.
War is war. Things evolve. Things move on. Decisions are made. You've got to move on.
You then had 2 years of recovery in hospital.
Yeah. Right. So was it 2 years? Yeah. I was injured. To November. I was in a coma for about 3 months. I woke up after Christmas. And then I was in Birmingham ITU for quite a while. Then I had to go to a spinal rehabilitation hospital. And that's where I spent, basically another 12 months or so flat on my back, just staring at the walls, trying to process everything. That was tough. That was really hard.
And what ultimately what motivated you to continue with the program that had been put together for you for your recovery? And that must have been like peaks and troughs of emotions, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think the fact that I'd been up to this point, the mentality of an SF soldier was still, still there. I was still, it'll always be there. But that, no matter what happens, you keep going. You keep going no matter how tough and how hard it gets, because that's what they drill into you through selection and through that SF world. So it's kind of just like continuation of that.
Okay. And
I kind of took that thought process and just adapted it to this situation. But there were those highs and lows, because there was also this massive like hit of reality, which is like, no, Toby, you're not. This is now for the rest of your life. Like, how do you get over that? How do you deal with that? And the truth is, I don't really know all the answers to it.
No,
I just kept trying to believe in myself. And I guess there was quite a bit of naivety there as well. You know, I was quite young, and I didn't really understand all the implications of what being paralyzed from the neck down meant. You only find these things out as you go through it, as time goes on. And how difficult it is to be paralyzed or disabled. It's incredibly difficult, and how ill-equipped the world is, you know, and it's tough. But yeah, you just keep going on, man. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
It's that Winston Churchill quote is
100%. I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah.
When you're going through hell, what's the only thing you can do is you just keep going.
Yeah, I love that quote. It's a great one, isn't it? Yeah.
And that's how I see it, you know. There's no turning back. Even if I wanted to, I can't. No one can. You know, all you can do is look forward. And move forward. And that's what I guess what the trick is. That's the trick to it.
And you write in your book, in a quote, I'd lost my entire identity, my job, my career, everything I'd built myself on. Joining the Marines was all very physical, and you can build your identity around that. It was really tough. I reached a point where I didn't see the point in carrying on. When did that occur, like timeline-wise, in your recovery? How long was that?
Yeah, so I just gotten out of hospital, and the military had put me up back on camp in a marriage quarters, kind of one of their little houses they have, and to their defense, they thought that was the best thing for me, but it actually had the the total opposite effect.
Right.
Because now I was lying there because I was still in bed at this point, you know, and I had people wanting to come and see me, my mates, and they were telling me stories of what they were getting up to, and I could see you know, teams of guys running past, doing their fizz in the morning and things. And it was actually breaking me down slowly but surely. Hearing all these amazing ops and, you know, jobs they were doing around the world. And I was being told, no, you know, this is your life now. So that's when I started to see a real dip in my mental health. And I started going down this bad spiral of I can't see how this is going to end. And I couldn't, I started to just not see any lights at the end of the tunnel. Just seemed like a big black wall in front of me. And I was like, I don't want to live like this. Is this it? Is this it now? Am I going to be literally lying in bed, being fed by because at this point I was still being fed through a tube in my stomach, so I wasn't eating.
Right.
And they were like, no, you're never going to be able to eat. And, you know, I was having to have someone, you know, give me water, and I was just horrendous, man. And I was like, no way, I don't think I can do this. And I don't want to do this. So what are my options? And that's what my mind was going through. What are my options here, man? And the only logical answer I could get to was, well, do I make the decision? Do I make that call and say, all right, let's go down that path of ending it. Let's do it then. If that's the only option, because I ain't gonna live like this, no way. But I couldn't see what. I guess I couldn't see what I could do and what the potential that I still had. All I could see was, well, this is it, so I might as well call it quits.
And do you think, knowing what you now know, Toby, do you think when you think of people who'd be in a similar position to where you were, what could be done for them to help them kind of see that light earlier and see what the future could hold for them? And I guess that is, I've kind of answered my own question, the book.
The book, but
Bravery.
Yeah. But people need to be shown what's still possible. You have like these terrible injuries, or you find out you've got something that's going to affect your life drastically. It's like it's all about what you can't do. No one ever comes in and goes, "Oh, mate, you can still do this. You can still do this. What about this? What about this?"
That's the difference, isn't it? Being shown what you can do.
What you can do, and what's still possible. Sure, it's not going to be easy. Damn sure it's not going to be easy, but it's possible. No one ever said to me, Toby, you can still go back to school. You still got your mind. You can still go back to school. You can educate yourself, and you could potentially grow something into a business. And then maybe that business could help others, and I don't know, you could be successful, and you could still then basically prove to yourself that you've still got what it takes. No one ever says that, and maybe it's human instinct to just dwell on the negative stuff. Maybe that's just a human trait. But I suppose if you got people around you, you could just try and show you and move your mind away from that and go, no, let's focus on the positives. And actually, when if we go back just a step there to where I was like in my darkest moments, where I just thought the walls are closing in on me, everything just seems dark and depressing, and there's no lights at the end of the tunnel, and I'm not going to put myself through this. That kind of mindset, and I ended up actually in a, sort of a hospital, a psychiatric hospital, and it was only when I met who's a very good friend of mine now, a psychiatrist, who said to me, Toby, stop, looking at the negatives and dwelling on how bad things are. Let's look at what's possible here. And I write about this again in my book. He was like, remember what's inside you, what made you who you are to get to, passing selection, and the good stuff inside you. You haven't lost that. You haven't lost your passion, your zest for life, your incredible caring sense of, personality. And these attributes, these are still there. Let's focus on that. Let's work on that and build that confidence back up. And slowly but surely, I started putting that all back together. And it wasn't easy, and it was a long journey. It took me, I'm probably still actually doing that every day. I'm still doing that because, it is quite easy for me to sometimes feel negative and upset sometimes, but, that's life.
And it sounds like he plays quite an important part in the story then, the psychiatrist who's now a friend of yours.
Yeah, he's a really good friend of mine.
That's great.
He's known me for a very long time. But, anyway, that's where we are in the journey, I guess. In the book is that turning point in my life.
And I'm interested in, how somebody who feels like they've reached, the bottom, how they then are able to reinvent themselves to have that reason for getting up. How do you think you ultimately, rediscovered your purpose? Was there, a screw it, just do it moment that you thought this is what the future could look like? You've got this amazing HQ with Bravery now, extreme sports, you got cafe in there, etc. It looks like a big old space, actually.
It is, yeah. To be honest, I bit off way more than I could probably handle at the beginning.
Pushed yourself.
Yeah, well out of my comfort zone. But yeah, going back to that T-junction moment, there was definitely that moment. And yeah, there was that screw it, just do it moment. But I knew, like, screw it, just do it. That doesn't mean just jump without looking. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Agreed. It's calculated.
Yeah, it's calculated. Exactly. Yeah. So when I thought, do you know what? I want to still be involved in the things that brought me joy and happiness. Surfing, motocross, getting out there, being, getting involved in all these things. I said, how do I still keep involved in that? And Bravery came up, this extreme sports brand, kind of like a Red Bull thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to create.
I was going to say, who'd you kind of look up to?
Look at Red Bull, and I go, they're just involved in all these really cool extreme sports stuff. And that mentality of just balls to the walls, giving everything you got. I love it. And I feel like it's so energetic, and I feed off that energy. So when I wanted to create a company like this, it wasn't just screw it, let's do it, and just start doing things willy-nilly. No, it was okay. I actually know nothing about business. My education's all out of date. If we're going to do this, I need to go right back to the beginning and start piecing this and doing this methodically and thinking about this pragmatically. And the first step was I need to go back to school because I just don't have the knowledge. So yeah, I went right back to square one and started educating myself. I knew I wanted to do business, but in order to do business, I had to go back and redo my GCSEs so that I could do my A-levels, so that I could go to university and get a business degree.
That's unbelievable. I mean, I've thought about that before. I never got my maths GCSE. I resat it about 4 times. You know what I mean? But I was lucky enough to go to uni in Bath. Did like English and history, but you did like 3 boom. Like GCSEs, A-levels degrees. I didn't know you did it in business. I wondered if you'd done it in business. Okay.
Yeah. So
and you got first, I read.
Yeah, I smashed it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I went back to GCSEs. And I did maths and English or whatever. Yeah. I think it was maths and English. Now, I never thought myself as an academic or that I had much brains, but
turns out you have.
The SF mentality. I just took the SF mentality to it, and I was like, right, okay, I'm gonna smash this. I'm just gonna knock it out of the park. Who's in my way? You know? And I did, and I got A stars in my GCSEs, and then I went to Bournemouth College.
Oh, okay, did you?
Which was surreal, sitting there with 16-year-olds in a classroom, and I'd been around the globe probably 3 times, 4 times, been to places, done things, worked with government officials on levels these 16-year-olds probably wouldn't even have.
Well, not even left England.
Yeah, hadn't even left home yet. Still living with their parents, and It was a bit surreal, but did 4 A levels. I think I did, what did I do? I don't know. I did English literature, law.
Yeah, same as me. Yeah,
philosophy, and business.
Okay. Yeah.
And I got four A levels. Or
That's
whatever,
crazy.
A stars in A levels. Went to university.
You went to Bournemouth, yeah?
Yeah, Bournemouth University.
Yeah, nice.
And that's where I did my Bournemouth degree in business, and then majored in operational management.
Got it.
And entrepreneurial development.
And what year? So the business you founded in 2016. So when did you finish your degree then?
Well, I mean, I founded the business in 2016, but that was just like I just registered
get the name,
get the name,
got
maybe
it,
do a
got
trademark.
It. Yeah.
And that was it, because I was still doing my degree. But then I just started chipping away at it. But I literally started with a white piece of paper, stuck it on the back of my door, and drew a circle, wrote Bravery in the middle, and just started doing the spider diagram.
Yeah.
And just started putting down ideas. Okay? Yeah. What do I want to be involved in? How's it going to look? How's it going to develop? What do I need to do? It's quite crude, just
everyone.
But every morning, I'd wake up and there it would be on the back of my door. So
visual.
Visual, yeah. And
it's interesting,
piecing
Toby,
it together.
Your energy, I can feel like coming up as you talk about Bravery.
It's like exciting. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's like, wow, what could this become?
That was my next question. So clothing for you was just a starting point. We're gonna do something. Let's do.
Yeah. Okay. I thought, where do we start? And I was like, let's do a wicked clothing line that people could wear. But on a business sense, I was like, it's a great way of almost pushing the brand out there. What better way than people wearing your brand?
Advertising,
yeah. So I was
marketing,
thinking, marketing side of it. Because, like I said, Bravery is more like a Red Bull. We want to become something else bigger than just a clothing line. Albeit, a great, fantastic clothing line that's really cool, but it's more than that. Bravery is all about the ethos, the messaging behind the brand. It sits up there on that level, and it has all these sort of tentacles coming off it. So
And what would you say? We have a lot of people listen who are like teenage boys in their 20s, 30s, who are doing, and they've probably got now, GCSEs, A levels, degrees, first jobs, that kind of thing. What would you kind of say to those people who maybe don't think they're natural learners? They might be dyslexic, as a lad I was chatting to yesterday about, and for them it doesn't come easy learning. It's a real challenge. What would you say to those kind of people?
I would say the journey is long, right? I know it doesn't seem like it in the moment, and you're frustrated and you're like, I'm stuck in this little rut or wherever the problem I'm having. But the journey is long, and you've got to just keep up the momentum and keep up the energy, and just keep going for it, and don't let I think obstacles or things become all-consuming. The road, the future is vast, the road is long, and things develop, and all you've got to do is keep going at it, like just keep that momentum up, that energy, and find ways to, that little fire in your belly, for whatever your passion is or for whatever your ambitions are. Don't focus on your problems or what your stumbling blocks are. Think of ways to pour gasoline on that fire inside your stomach.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
I
think
love
of
it.
ways like that. Like that's what I do.
Yeah.
Rather than going, oh, I'm paralyzed. Oh, it's so frustrating. I can't write notes. I can't write things down. I can't. I've got to have people hold the phone for me. I've got to have all these negatives. But let's not focus on that. Let's just go. How do I keep the tempo up?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Let's keep driving at it. Oh, okay, fine. I can't do this. Right. Let's find a way around it. And that momentum, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I definitely think you've got to find. I can find the positive in anything. Not that I've remotely had overcome challenges that you've overcome, but I mean, you say I've got a quote here that you've created the brand not only for the youth intervention programmers, but for people to stop, take a look at their own lives and choices, and to see what obstacles or challenges they're avoiding that will lead to them living their full potential. I want it to act as a reminder that by taking risks, stepping outside their comfort zones and believing in themselves, making a difference could change their lives in amazing and exciting ways. I love that. It says it all, doesn't it?
It says it all.
Yeah.
That's what the book is about. I think that's what life is about, you know, and I want people to, believe in themselves, because I think that's what resilience is all about. Being resilient is just purely believing in yourself, you know what your purpose is and just go for it.
Yeah. What would you say is this podcast all about helping people do exactly this, get from where they currently are to where they want to be in life, removing those obstacles. For you, what do you think was the one thing you needed to be able to screw it and just do it and get from where you were in your recovery to where you are now, as we just talked about, GCSEs, A-levels, degree, business, helping people? What's the one thing, like what's the one quality or the one person, or it could be anything?
That's a
tough
question.
one.
Yeah, it's a tough question, What you mean, what worked for me?
Yeah, what one thing would you take you think you look back on, and it could be, your perseverance, it could be something somebody said to you, it could be a quote. There's obviously a few elements with your story, but for you to be able to have got to where you are now, what's done that?
Should we go quite deep on this one?
Just finish off with something deep. Let's do it.
Man, like for me, what really, I think what okay, I'm just going to be really honest. It's fear. It's fear of that. I don't want to get to the end of my life and go, oh, I wasted it.
Yeah.
I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. I had this real close encounter with death, and it just made me, I think, realize life can be so fleetingly short. And there's so much I want to do, and it even now it scares me so much. So and it pushes me and it drives me now. So I think that's what worked for me was.
Yeah.
I just thought, man, what happens if we don't get any? What happens if at the end of it, that's it? That's it.
Yeah. And when you're young, you don't have that. You don't see the end, do you? And it's only as you get older, like now I can definitely, see. And it was interesting. A guy I follow called Jesse Itzler, I've been lucky enough to talk to, but not interview for my podcast. And his wife's really famous as well. She's got $1 billion company called Spanx that she sold. He had a private jet company that he sold. And he just said, I think he's 56, 57. And he says, I look at it now, and every year he goes, I mark out what's one life-defining event I'm going to do this year. He goes, every other month, I'm going to put in a mini adventure in there. And that could be just going, he said, I went to Mount Washington with my daughter. It cost me $8 for the car park, even though he's, a billionaire. It didn't cost him anything, just to look at the stars at night there.
Yeah.
And he was like, the average person lives to, I think he said something like 75 or whatever. He goes, you suddenly calculate, I've only got these many life-defining events left in my life. I've only got so many of these mini adventures. So the earlier that you start doing that, the more life you can live.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that.
Yeah, I think that sounds exactly what I'm trying to say. And I think it was that realization. That's really what pushed me.
Yeah.
It's going, all right, I'm just going to make the most of it.
It's a bit of fear there, isn't there? Like you say, that the clock's ticking for all of us.
Ticking.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not good to stew on it and
No.
dwell on it, because I think that's quite unhealthy. But just, you know, keep it in the back of your mind, you know. But also, I guess I did want to make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a difference and
you are.
Help and further human beings as a whole, move things forward as a collective.
Yeah.
That was, I'm trying to think, you know, what would I if I was to try and motivate people or the youth of today and things, it's just get out there and get amongst it, and you'll soon see how important that is, you know.
And for you, I think everyone I've asked this question to says they're not where they want to be, but are you currently where you want to be? What, if not, what else would you like to achieve, Toby?
I mean, I'm definitely not currently where I want to be. There's so much more I want to achieve in life. There's so much more I want to see and experience. And again, people go, oh yeah, but how are you going to travel, or how are you going to be able to do that? Because I want to go and see, you know, these amazing parts of the world. And I'll say, well, I don't really think about that. I just think I want to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So I'll make it happen.
That's what Jesse Itzler talks about, is experience-based living. You know, that's what the world is such a big place, you know,
exactly.
So much we can do. And look, really wanted to chat to you, so I'm glad we made it happen. I really appreciate you taking the time, and it is an inspirational story of, you know, overcoming challenges and moving towards where you want to be. I you know, found it really interesting how you've managed to, you know, re-find your purpose. For people who want to buy the book, Never Will I Die, the obvious place is Amazon, but all good bookshops, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's in all the good bookshops, W.H. Smith and places like that. But yeah, Amazon's probably the best place, easiest place.
And then for Bravery, if people want to find out more, people who want to get involved, is it bravery.com? Bravery?
Bravery.co.uk.
Okay, bravery.co.uk
is our website. Okay. Our HQ building is down in Poole.
I'm going to swing by. It looks amazing. I just saw it this morning on Instagram.
It's a wicked place. It really shows my character and what I'm into. All the, you know, dirt bikes, the surfboards. So, you know, it's all there. You can get it all there. I'm down there most days.
You know, you carry on putting your drive and your determination in there. The sky's the limit.
Absolutely, yeah. Sky is the limit for anyone.
Yeah, and as you rightly said, which I think is a really good quote, you know, it's a long race. So enjoy the process, dig in.
Yeah, enjoy the process, enjoy the ride, and make the most of it. I think that's my ending statement, quote, whatever. Just make the most of it.
Amazing. Toby Gutteridge, thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Screw It, Just Do It. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below this video, as this episode helped move you closer to where you want to be. All that I ask is that if you enjoyed this episode and then it's moved you closer to getting to where you want to be, that you share this episode so that it helps one other person do just the same. Just ask yourself, what small action will move you forward to get you from where you are, then screw it and just do it. Until next time.